Hello, and welcome back to Chicken Skin Fireside. Tonight we're pulling up a chair and listening to a story that's less of a campfire tale and more of a cornerstone of modern Sasquatch history. It's an incident so profound and with so much physical evidence that it helped pull the Sasquatch from the realm of legend and into the modern conversation. This is the Ruby Creek incident. The story takes us back to September of 1941 to a remote area of British Columbia known as Ruby Creek. It was a small, quiet place and home to the Chapman family, George and Jeannie, and their 4 children. George worked on the railroad, and their home was a modest cabin sitting close to the tracks, with a field stretching out toward the mountain and the river beyond. It was a clear, sunny afternoon around 3 p.m. when Jeannie's oldest son, a 9-year-old boy, came running back into the house. He was breathless and shaken, talking about a strange cow coming out of the woods at the foot of the mountain. Jeannie, sensing her son's unease, went out to look. At first she thought she was seeing a large bear moving through the bushes near the railroad tracks. She immediately called her other 2 children, a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, who were playing nearby. They ran to her side. But then the creature stepped onto the tracks, and Jeannie realized with a dawning horror that this was no bear. It was a giant, man-shaped being covered in pale yellow-brown hair. The hair was about 4 inches long, not fur, and the creature was immense. It was so big that Jeannie would later compare its skin tone to the color of a sheet of varnished plywood. The creature began walking directly towards the house. Jeannie said she had too much time to look at it, as if she was frozen, trying to process what she was seeing. In a moment of clarity, she instructed her eldest son to run inside and grab a blanket. The kids were in a panic. It took a few frantic minutes to get the blanket, and in that time, the creature had closed the distance, now only about 100 feet away from her. Jeannie quickly spread the blanket and held it high, blocking the children's view of the creature. Holding the blanket aloft, she backed away, hustling her children toward the river beach and out of sight. Then they ran as fast as they could downstream toward the village. When asked later why she used the blanket, Jeannie had a surprising answer. She didn't use it for some superstitious reason, or to prevent her kids from seeing the creature. She used it because she thought the creature was after them, and if it couldn't see them, it might think they had gone into the house and had followed them there instead. That's exactly what happened. The creature, a towering beast of a thing, went to the Chapman's home. It rummaged through an old outhouse and in an astonishing show of strength hauled a 55-gallon barrel of salted fish out into the open, breaking it apart and scattering the contents. When George Chapman came home from work that evening, he was immediately met with a scene of disarray. The woodshed door was battered, and enormous humanoid footprints were all over the place. Alarmed, he followed his family's tracks, which led to the river and off downstream toward the village. Relieved, he then discovered the gigantic tracks of the creature, which had milled about the riverbank before disappearing back into the mountains. Back at the house, George examined the damage. He was still astonished, years later, that anything could lift that 55-gallon barrel. He confirmed the creature's height by finding long brown hair stuck in the doorframe well above his own head. Jeannie, for her part, described the creature as about 7.5 feet tall. She noticed its small head and a thick neck, almost no neck at all. Its body was human-shaped but immensely thick through the chest with exceptionally long arms. She was certain it was a male, though she could not see any genitalia because of the long hair. One point she was very definite about was the color of its face and hands, darker than its hair, almost black. The Chapmans had a hard time staying there at their home, especially when the footprints returned every night for a week, and on 2 occasions the dogs they brought with them would go into a frenzy at exactly 2 in the morning. Eventually they abandoned the house and never returned. Perhaps the most significant detail of all came just as the interview was ending. Jeannie suddenly told the interview that the creature made an awful funny noise. When asked to imitate it, George stepped in and reproduced the sound. It was a strange, gurgling whistle, a sound the interview said was unlike anything he had ever heard from man or beast. What makes this even more chilling is that years later and hundreds of miles away, Two men in California who claim to have heard a Bigfoot call reproduce the exact same strange sound. It's a sound that defies description, a gurgling whistle that no one can seem to explain. And so we're left with the question, was this simply a shared hallucination, a story passed along and perfected over time? Or did George and Jeannie Chapman really have a visitor that day at Ruby Creek? A visitor whose existence would be confirmed by others so many miles away and so many years later. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next story.